I want to tell you a little story about nature in my backyard. Now, earlier this afternoon, I went out and I picked a bunch of Papples. It's like a mixture of an apple and a pear. I planted this tree maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little longer. And this year I have a bumper crop. But every year I try to get out there before the animals like eat them and throw them, and they take a little bite, they nibble, and they drop them on the ground. So I'd been waiting for a week or two. I picked a few up off the ground earlier this week, and then I thought, well, maybe they're about right. And I went out and I got on a ladder that I have out there, and they were so delicious. There were some huge ones, and this is a picture of the. Not all of them. I gave a neighbor of mine who gave me some fruit, six really nice ones, and they taste great. And at this time of the year, pears, because of all the air and the smoke in the air and all the plastic in the air, aerosolized, pears are actually quite good for moistening the lungs. And it's so dry outside, it's a great fruit for dryness of the lungs. So at any rate, I went out. I carefully picked, and there were a lot. I got some off the ground, but I picked them off the tree, and hardly any. There were a couple that had like little spots in them, but I brought them inside. I went and washed them, took some to my neighbor, and came back. And then later this evening, I was sitting here in my living room, and I hear this noise, and I thought there were some like mice chewing something in the kitchen. There was this noise, and I get up and I go in the kitchen. I'm going, it's not quite here. And I went to the back door, and out on top of this gate, and here's a picture of the gate, but I didn't take a picture. There was a squirrel just standing there and just jabbering at me. And I knew for sure, and that squirrel knew for sure, that I had picked these prime pears. It was so interesting. And they just stood there. And then eventually turned around and walked and ran away. And I sort of followed because I thought, well, I wonder if there was, a squirrel who was caught somewhere and they needed some help. So I was just thinking, well, maybe we're communicating there. I just seen this program about dogs the night before, and how domesticated dogs are different from wolves in that domesticated dogs actually love to interact with humans, and they have some different genes that they've tracked, that humans have figured out, scientists have figured out, that they have these particular genes that make them really want to help humans and really be, man's best friend, or woman's best friend. But at any rate, so I'm thinking, well, maybe this squirrel has this gene in it. So I sort of walked along, and I heard it, and the squirrel had gone up on another tree and was there up on a branch, looking over at the pears and just going, like, how dare you get those Papples before I could. And so then it went on some other trees and on off. But it was such an interesting interaction that I had with the animals in my backyard. I just thought I'd share that to you. We're still very connected with nature if we take the time to pay attention.